So thank you all very much for inviting me to this conference. And thanks to Professor Alexander Dugin for his very nice introduction, setting up the tone of the conference. So I think I would focus on the Bangladesh aspect and the uh, Muslim sentiment towards what is happening regarding Iran and the how it may affect the multipolar world as we are talking about that. One thing I can start with is the youth population in Bangladesh. We just experienced an uprising in 2024, though foreign powers were involved into this, but the participation of the population, of the youth especially, was very spontaneous. Before this thing happened, this July uprising in Bangladesh, Bangladeshi youth were less interested in politics because there was a dictator ruling Bangladesh for 15 years plus. So the youth and the population in general were less and less interested in politics until this July uprising happened in 2024. And then suddenly, all the youth in our country, they became very much aware into all things politics. So as I do activism in Bangladesh, and I'm also into journalism, I'm a director in Bangladesh State News Agency. So I observe very closely what our youth are saying, what the young generation are thinking, what their thought processes are. So this sudden shift into the mindset and interests of Bangladeshi youth have made them an active agent while they were a passive agent in even Bangladeshi politics, let alone international one. So now that our youth are more and more becoming an active agent into national politics, they're taking more interest into international politics as well. So this is the situation of our youth. But to come to the situation of what is happening in Iran is the government of Bangladesh, they released on social media one post about we mourn the death of Khamenei. But then the picture the government used is not a picture of Khamenei. That is picture of Khomeini, who died in 1989. So that gives you a sense of the rulers in Bangladesh, how much they're actually aware about geopolitics or global powers. So they just confused Khomeini with Khamenei. So that is the ruling class. Most of them are like this, but the youth are very aware. They're very smart in all things internet and smartphones, so they're more and more becoming an active agent into politics. Another thing regarding Iran is this didn't happen just on 28th of February. As you all know, this war against Iran actually started with Syria. Syria was the security belt of Iran, and also it was kind of a security belt for preserving this multipolar vision that China, Russia, India, and many others are envisioning. So the fight against Syria started first, and then Khamenei said one thing, I remember, to his own population several years ago. He said that had we not been fighting ISIS on Syria, we would have been fighting them in Iranian land. And that is what happened in this riot in January, that Mossad agents and ISIS people as well, they were very active on the ground in Iran. So after the fall of Syria, then of course Iran comes next. And when Iran comes next, what Bangladeshi people are thinking is Pakistan comes next. So even though, Bangladesh and Pakistan, they have some, we fought a war and we were one country, but now we're like two different countries. We fought a war in 1971, and even though we are two different countries, but Bangladeshi people, they're so interested in Pakistan, and they consider Pakistan as their brotherly nation, a powerful brotherly nation. So they're concerned about the fall of Pakistan after the fall of Iran. So this is another thing that is going on into the minds of Bangladeshi people. So when this huge population, we are a population of 20 million, 200 million people in Bangladesh almost. So we are powerful, in terms of number, so we can exert a lot of impact. But how much impact we will exert on the international arena depends on how much knowledge and understanding goes on into the minds of the youth, especially the youth. Not the older generation, where the older generation are less aware about geopolitics. As I told you, the gray hair people who are ruling Bangladesh right now after the latest polls, they don't know Khomeini and Khamenei, they confuse them. So now more and more people are interested in global politics. What we have been doing activism on since 2012, since the civil war in Syria began, we were saying that this is the Western actors, they're trying to portray it as Shia and Sunni and things like that. So it was only me and a handful number of people, 2 or 3 other people in Bangla, in online, talking about what is happening actually on the ground in Syria. Is not a religious war, it's an imperialistic war, aggression. And then we used to get bombarded by all of these things. People used to say that, no, this is the Shia Iran, they're killing the Sunnis, they killed millions of, 1 million Sunnis in Syria. So these are things we have been fighting in the Bangladeshi youth mindset, especially since 2012. But this scenario changed drastically in the last couple of years, and especially after the June 2025 war on Iran. So now that the youth have awakened here, they're talking about this war against Iran, and even the situation in Syria, that this is all geopolitics. It has nothing to do with Islam. So that is one thing that Bangladeshi people have long been brainwashed about things being sectarian, while that is not the case. So now they're trying to see the secular aspect of politics. But the other thing, as Alexander Dugin said, is that we need to more and more look into the eschatological aspect and the religious aspect of politics. Because ultimately what goes in our mind is implemented everywhere. So while our people are waking up about the Muslim versus Muslim fight that it's been instigated by the foreign powers to preserve their own imperialistic interests, and so now they're like separating religion from politics and getting a view of that sort. At the same time, they're still talking about eschatology and prophecies. The two very important things in terms of eschatology that goes on in Bangladesh. By the way, not to mention that Bangladeshi people are very much pro-Palestinian and pro-Iranian. As you can see, I have put some flags on the backdrop. So, and we're having protests in Bangladesh about the killing of Khamenei. So, two important things. One is the Shia eschatology that Sunni Bangladesh shares. Because Sunni Bangladesh, Bangladesh is a 54-year-old country, but this Indian subcontinent, it has been ruled by Muslim rulers since many hundred years ago. So we have several cultural elements that can be traced back to Shia theology. So those cultural elements are still preserved in Sunni culture, but the theory is in Shia theology. For example, the most important is before the month of Ramadan, now it's the month of Ramadan, there is the month of Shaban, which is the previous month in Arabic calendar. On the 15th of Shaban, which is the previous month of Ramadan, this is celebrated by the Shias as the birth of Mahdi. So the Sunnis consider that the Mahdi will be born in future, but the Shias say that, I mean, this is the Iranian view, of course, and this view is very deeply rooted into Khamenei and all of the Shias around the globe, that the Mahdi was born about some 1200 years ago. He is alive by the grace of God, and he talks to his very devoted ones because he has some power, so he can reach out to anyone he wants, so something like that. And a lot of people in Iran and outside of Iran say that the previous Supreme Leader Khomeini had talked to Mahdi, had direct contact with the Mahdi, the savior in the end times. And this is also said about Khamenei, that Khamenei has direct contact with Mahdi. He had. So, and that is why in Shia world, they say that he is the assistant of Mahdi. So in Arabic, it's called like Naib Mahdi, which means the assistant of Mahdi. So that is how they view their leader. And in Bangladesh, they celebrate the birth of Mahdi, the 15th of Shaban, unknowingly that this is the birth of Mahdi being celebrated. They just celebrate it as a cultural element. They give sweets to everyone, they cook things, and they do kind of a religious party. So this is one very important cultural element that the Bangladeshi people still have. I think India and Pakistan also have this thing. And the other thing is Ghazwatul Hind. That is another concept that goes on into the minds of Bangladeshi Muslim and Pakistani Muslim and Indian Muslims as well. I think in Indian Hindus, they also know about this. This is some prophecy that can be traced back to 800 or 900, about 900 years ago. Someone prophesied in this Indian subcontinent, some Muslim, that there will be a big war in the Indian subcontinent between Muslim and the Hindus. And also, this is in the prophetic traditions as well. So these two things, the Ghazwatul Hind, you just talk to any 10 random youth on Bangladeshi streets, in the streets of Dhaka, and you will see that they talk about the Ghazwatul Hind. They're anticipating, they're kind of in their mind, in the backdrop of their mind, they're preparing for some kind of big war between big religious war between the Hindus and Muslims in this Indian subcontinent. So while we're talking about the multipolarism, where India is a big part, and then a lot of people in Indian subcontinent, Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh, they're thinking and they're looking forward to that Ghazwatul Hind that will be the collapse of Greater India, or that will separate, that will create one big Muslim land and the Hindus will be defeated. So this is one view the Muslims in India's subcontinent have in their mind because of the eschatology that we have in our books. So the multipolar vision that the whole world is moving to, I mean, a lot of the countries are moving to, while India is a big part, the population of, I mean, when I say India, I'm meaning that India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh are greater India or Indian subcontinent. So a lot of population, I mean, 600 million or something Muslim population you'll get here, which you won't get elsewhere, a large number of Muslim population, the largest number of Muslim population in one contiguous land. So these people, when they're thinking and they're looking forward to a fight between the Hindus and the Muslims, so then you won't be getting a big, consolidated, unified India playing their role in the multipolar world, multipolar vision in the coming years, while 600 million plus Muslims in this land are thinking about the fight between the Hindus and the Muslims. So that is one important thing I think can be put into the perspective of multipolarism and the eschatology that we have here. And another thing I want to end my talk with is the Shia fatwa is very powerful. I think a lot of you already know this. The previous supreme leader of Iran, they don't call supreme leader. This is actually called Rahbar in Persian. Rahbar means the guide, who guides the path and we walk the path. So that is how they say. But when the West says supreme leader, it has a connotation of suppressing others and somebody being supreme. So I don't use that word, but here I'm just saying. So the previous Rahbar of Iran, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, he gave a fatwa against Salman Rushdie, a death sentence. You all know about this. And these fatwas are alive. So these fatwas do not die with the death of the fatwa giver. So you know what happened to Salman Rushdie a few years back. Some follower of Khomeini, who was about 20 or 25, some age, who was not even born in times of Khomeini, that youth went to the stage and stabbed Salman Rushdie in his eyes. And now one of his eyes is blind. So this is the power of fatwa in the Shia world. But in the Sunni world, it's very different. It's very fragmented, very segregated, and their scholars give fatwa against one another, which you will not see in the Shia world. So though the Shia Muslims are minority within the Muslim community, their fatwa is very powerful. So and also you'll see in every year about 200 million. 20 million Muslims gather in Iraq to commemorate the 40th day of the death of Imam Hussein, who is the grandson of the Prophet. And this is where they get all their inspiration of fighting from, the Husseini inspiration, which ran through the blood of Khamenei and runs through the blood of Iranians and all Shia Muslims around the globe. And these large number of Muslim population, they're very devoted, they're ready to die. They have that fervor, that emotion when they gather in Iraq in the shrine of Imam Hussein every year. So you can just look at them as 20 million bombs ready to explode at the directive of one single fatwa. So while we're talking about the military aspect of war, this is the religious aspect of war, that the Shia world will never run out of soldiers, because their fatwas are very powerful. And already you might have known that 4 top marjai taqlid, as they say, the top religious authorities, they have given fatwa against Trump, that the killing of Trump is mandatory. So this is something we will see unfolding in the coming years. And because this is Iran, this is Shia population, so we will need to be talking about a lot of the Shia eschatology. They call it Mahdaviya, the rule of Mahdi, how they envision it. Their actions will be affected by that. So these are the things I think I could add, and I would now leave it to the other guests. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we are moving from Bangladesh to Pakistan. And I have the pleasure of giving the floor to Madame Gul Aisha Khati. Please, your turn.
Thank you so much. I think I'm audible. Am I?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Professor Dugin, for this opportunity, and my dear friend Leonard Seven. It's a great pleasure to be here. And right now we are facing toughest time, especially when our whole region is on fire, and our western border we are facing in Pakistan. It's a serious tension since last years, and it's really difficult for us to navigate in a normal way. And especially in Pakistan, I know we were not expecting this attack on Iran, and we were expecting small little, let's say, the threats and some deterrence, but not that this full-fledged strikes from Israel and America. And while looking into this, it's religious connotation. Like my colleague from Bangladesh, he mentioned about how this war is basically, bringing all those religious emotions. And I am witness to these emotions in Pakistan as well. Despite the fact that we are from various, sects and various schools of thoughts in Islam, the Sunnis and Brahmins and Shias and Al-Hadiths and so many other sects. Yet, however, this pain is mutual, and I've seen people crying on this assassination of Supreme Leader, and how furious people are in Pakistan. And you might have seen, that the people, they have been attacking American consulates in Karachi and Lahore, and especially the protest outside here in Islamabad. So it shows that this single incident has brought all the Muslims together on one page. And I was looking into this operation that has launched by Israel and America, and they give it the name of that operation, Shield of Judah. So it means that religious connotation is there, just like respected Professor Dugin he mentioned it, that we have to look into the religious aspect of this war. So yes, this operation Shield of Judah has this some Israeli in their Jewish historical connection with it. While looking into Israel, I'll discuss Iran first and its situation and how we were perceiving from Pakistan. What we were anticipating in Pakistan. So initially we were not ready for that, and or as we were busy in our western border with Afghanistan, continuous tension is there. But Iran, we were thinking that it's going to be a small little war, there's some strike, but not this big one. It was a really shock for everybody, even in the political structure. I've been closely looking into all and following all their, understanding about it. So while looking into this Iran war, it's just, it's not like a counter-proliferation strike. We call it as a systematic assault on the multipolar order, the order especially that is looking for, the respect for sovereignty and respect for the dignity and respect for the for independent pole of civilization. So it's a kind of a direct attack by these Western powers on it, and I call it that Atlanticist agenda toward these Eurasian order. And now this has got a decapitation strategy as well, in which they are, the way they are targeting the line of, Supreme Leader, and after that, the another successor. And I think it's been happening since 1 year, particularly. They have been targeting the big leadership and the commanders and these top commander leadership. And the main thing is, how are they getting access to their whereabouts? It's a serious concern, and Iran should be looking into it. And this once we look into Iran as a civilizational resilience, it's marvelous. I mean, we cannot say it's just a regime. It's a 3,000 years old logic is behind it, and this civilizational resilience is marvelous. We saw that previously. And once they call it, this is just the collapse of excess of resistance, I would say that it's a kind of rise of Iran again, because I saw and I observed that the people in Iran, and especially in Pakistan, and then the whole region of this Eurasia, wherever the Muslims are sitting, if they are feeling a kind of connection to this, the rise of Iran and how they are retaliating. And right now, I see that Trump is trying to avoid and trying to come on the table and try to bring, some kind of settlement. But Iran is not ready for that, and that's a kind of brave attempt. And in Pakistan, the common man, those who are not happy with the Western agenda, and they are already always striking against this Western hegemony, especially American influence in Pakistan. They're extremely happy. But however, once coming to Pakistan, that Pakistan is somehow, I call it as a ontological paradox, where Pakistan has got all the attributes of a Eurasian pole, but it's what's we look at its geography, it's a nuclear armed military, and deep religious connection and traditions are there. Yet it's a captive pole, captive in a sense that its whole Eurasian body, it has got Islamic civilization at heart. However, that the nervous system, the brain is occupied by that Western agenda, because our structure, economy, and our the industries, they have been occupied by the Western ideology, in a sense that the IMF and international funding is there, and there is nothing free on the table. And while asking for those IMF deals and asking for all those support from America and the other Western friends of Pakistan, and they're always asking for a return, and that return is keeping Pakistan away from becoming a independent pole in this multipolar world. So that's kind of paradox in Pakistan. And once we look that Pakistan is an indispensable southern gateway, and we have seen that the dream of warm water, it's no longer a 19th century phenomena. It's a connectivity, a reality. And Pakistan can become this that maritime opening of heartland. However, Pakistan is just locked, is not sovereign in a true sense. And there is Atlanticist legacy Pakistan is carrying. It's been 19th and 20th century, the occupation of the British rule, and then later on, Pakistan has always been having that influence of America to do the jobs, and that is something is making Pakistan a kind of paralyzed or not becoming an independent in its foreign policy and its economic deals. So this current instability in Pakistan, we see that it's not merely a political or economic only, it's a geopolitical rejection as well. For example, see the geography is trying to pull Pakistan towards China, Russia, Iran to have to go for a regional development. However, the institutional elite in Pakistan, they are desperately connected with those Western elites, and that for the sake of those old security guarantees and financial lifeboats they are getting from the West, it is keeping them away for have a regional connection. And I believe that in Pakistani elite, even us sitting in somehow in mid-tier body of our government structures, we believe that most of the people, they are not happy with this agenda. We are not happy with having the war with either side of our borders. We want peaceful Pakistan. So yet, if we see that no, it's not happening because there are some other policies our government is looking after. So we feel that agitation. And that agitation sometimes take us to this neo-nationalism. And there was a time where we were thinking that Pakistan is looking for a great awakening. However, we cannot drift ourselves away from this Western subservience of, and definitely not very helpful for multipolarity. And the major factor, I believe, is that economic sovereignty. And I believe that Pakistan is facing that economic colonialism. And it's the form of the IMF or the World Bank and other financial policies that is trying to capture Pakistan and not helping it work fully. So whenever Pakistan tries to have some better independent policies, there are some time there were governments in few years back since 2018 to 22, they tried to have some financial independence, and yet that the situation was not in their hand, and there was a kind of people believe it was a regime change, and there is a great opinion about it in Pakistan. So Western in the Washington consensus is really important whenever we look into Pakistan's foreign policy and Pakistan's internal affairs as well. So I believe that decisions on the energy, decisions on the trade, and even on the foreign alliances, it is all being decided by our Western friends, and we follow it. So we believe in Pakistan we have an idea of that national. It's a hollow nationalism. There is a loud rhetoric about it, but in action, it's a kind of paralyzed. And here we then go toward that, the geopolitical clock. And it says that although Pakistan can prove itself as a Eurasian maritime opening, however, if we look into INSTC, we look into the CPAC, so we see that Pakistan is remain unstable or beholden on this because of this Western security pressure that all these arteries, either the CPAC or Pakistan becoming the part of international North-South transport corridor, it's not being possible in Pakistan because of this captive Pakistan. It always serves the West by ensuring that the heartland remains landlocked and dependent on the Western-controlled sea lands. a kind of a dilemma in Pakistan. So, and then we look into this hybrid war lab. I would like to express my views on it. That I believe that Pakistan is a fault line in this Eurasia, not becoming a complete independent pole in this multipolar world. But however, it has become a laboratory of somehow, external actors exploiting its internal ethnic and economic fractions to ensure that the state remains weak to act as a sovereign partner to Russia and China. And regional stability, instability in this regard is putting some kind of, cherry on top in this regard. And once we look into the SCO or Pakistan's role in it, and Pakistan as a strong active partner in becoming the part of this southern rim. So Pakistan must look into that. Pakistan should not be the object of the Western containment strategy. And however, the ruling elite, they must understand it, because, the popular opinion is not with them, and the sane voices in Pakistan, and the students and the youth. 60% of Pakistan, they are less than the 30 years of the age, and they are. They always talk about we should have our independent policies. We should have our independent role in this multipolar world, instead of looking towards West, towards America all the time. It's not helpful for us, and his history has proven it. And then I believe that the Pakistan elite, they have long tried to justify their existence through this Western liberal metrics to joining the multipolar world. It is important for Pakistan to realize its Islamic Eurasian identity, because in this pole we have that Islamic civilization. It gives us strength. It doesn't give us that backwardness, or we expect the modernization from the West. That's in somehow in the heads of our elite. And then Pakistan giving the name of a nation state, I think it's again a Western conduct. It should be like civilizational state. It is having its own grounds, economy, law, geopolitics, and its own tradition that is based in Islam. Although, I, being a professor, I teach my students Indus Valley civilization, and the civilization has strong connection with us. And although, the civilization somehow leads toward Hinduism, and then afterward being, appreciated by India, but still we teach us, I teach my students these civilizations. We respect these civilizations. It's part and parcel of Pakistan's history as well. So when I discuss, I look into the Pakistan's Great Awakening, I feel that there are so many pressure on Pakistan. I mean, we are ready as a geography, we are ready as a civilization, or our common man. They are ready for that kind of understanding. However, our modern elite, setting our ruling class, they are still attached to this Western agenda, and they are not ready to leave it in near future, and that brings problem for us. And then my colleague, he was talking about first Iran and then Pakistan, but I have seen Pakistani politicians, and they say that no, we are not going to be next. The reason being that we have been very good friend. We have cordial relation with our Western friends, and they are not going to let anything happen to us. And then there are some philosophers, then there are some teachers, my professors. They say that we should not be harmed, because technically we have been a buffer state when there was that. British rule in India, and we have been a buffer state against the Russian Empire. And then later on, we have been serving our role as a good friend of West, and have been providing them all those technical support they were looking for. So it's not going to be our turn, but yet it's a paradox Pakistan is facing. And honestly, since last 1 year, it's been a difficult time for us. It's what kind of future we are going to give to our young generation, I have no clue. So that was my opinion. That was my part. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, too. It was Also, great pleasure to hear your opinion, your views on the such large number of problems. And Mr. Dugin is now going to comment your speech and some other. So, Mr. Dugin, you are welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to stress some points, very important, I think. So outside of the conflict between India and China and Southern Asia and Far East, we see as well a conflict between Indian identity and Islamic world inside of India and on the border of India. So these are two levers that give to the West and Western hegemony the possibility to manipulate India, to say, oh, you have the common enemies, China and Islamic world. So be with us, stay with Israel, and everything will be all right. At the same time, they attack India from inside, from outside, and so on. So I think we need to propose, to suggest some counter strategy based first on the mutual strategical, not cultural, strategical understanding between India and China on one side. That is much more for geopolitical experts. But on the other side, concerning is Islamic tradition in India, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, maybe outside, we need to promote a kind of special spiritual approach here. Here it is much more important, concerning as well eschatology, in order to avoid the risks that our friend Nure has pointed out. So we need, I think, to rediscover ideas of Sikhs and other kind of Hindu-Islamic dialogue based on the great rule of some Mughals rulers, Islamic, who were very Akbar the Great, who suggested the common vision to include spiritual understanding between Hindu tradition, religion, and Islamic tradition, based on Ishraq, the great philosopher of Iran, Ishraq Safrawardi, the greatest thinker. So the concept of Ishraq, the concept of the spiritual East. So that is very important to try to unite. And my Pakistani friend, deceased, Jas Akram, great man, great philosopher, he suggests as well to stress, emphasize the importance of traditionalism, of the works of René Guénon, concerning the transcendental unity of tradition, metaphysical unity of traditions. So in order to understand that the West, that is something against all the traditions, all the sacred traditions. In that sense, inner fight between Indian traditionalism and Islamic traditionalism, it is the kind of trap, a kind of trick of Kali Yuga, of Dajjal. So that is very important. So we need to work in that direction, maybe make more popular works of René Guénon in India, in Pakistan. And that was the idea of Jas Akram, great philosopher and thinker of Pakistan, who understood that very well. But his legacy is somehow forgotten because he was close to Imran Khan. He was his advisor. So Jas Akram, very interesting. So I think we need to work on that as well, and we should discuss these things openly, not hide, not make everything is quite right between Muslim and Hindu. No, it is not so. But we need to find a solution. At least suggest that as a kind of spiritual counter strategy of multipolarity, and in order, I think that is very important, both direction for India, to find somehow mutual understanding with China on one level. So the dialogue of tradition here is secondary in that case. But on the contrary, the spiritual dialogue with Islamic population in Pakistan and Bangladesh, in India, and India itself, it is very, very important. So we need to find a common ground for Indian Hindu traditionalists and Muslim traditionalists, and that is very strategically, geopolitically important in order to promote balanced and real and sincere multipolarity.
Thank you very much. And after such great South Asian